This video is some notes about the videos I reviewed recently. But first, let me start off with talking to you about the Illuminati and how I viewed them over time. When I first heard about the Illuminati, there was a little bit of fear, in these powerful people and what they can do. And I had a slight bit of respect for them. These people managed to outmaneuver everybody. They took control. They have a ridiculous amount of control over things. That's how I saw it when I was about 12, 13 years old. Maybe even younger than that. Probably more like 10, 11, 12, 13. Somewhere around there. Anyway, as time went on and I started understanding that they were Satanists, I lost respect for them pretty much immediately. When I started to grasp the type of people who are involved, people like George Bush, people like Kissinger and Cheney and FDR and Winston Churchill, all these kind of people that think they're smooth and they think they're smart, there was very little respect for them. As I started figuring out that they're queers and feminists, oh man, there was no respect for them at all. An honest thug such as myself, back then, could not respect these kind of people. This is what us tough guys don't respect. And when I first heard, which later on it came to my attention, that there isn't just pedophile rings, that the Illuminati and the secret societies that they're associated with are sadistic pedophiles. And that was truly the ultimate kicker of all. Can you imagine being around mafia dons and some of the greatest minds supposedly of our time, and you're a fucking pedophile? You're like, so what do you do? Well, I run a pedophile ring, or well, excuse me while I go have sex with this fucking 5-year-old little girl, things of this nature. I mean, that was just like, wow, these are a bunch of pedophiles, and then you have a bunch of secret societies that bootlick to them. I mean, it's one thing to bootlick to a queer. It's absolutely disgusting, but I was familiar with the idea that people do it because of Hollywood. I was quite familiar with the idea that queers run things, Hollywood, classical music directors, what have you. I was very well familiarized with this idea. From cartoons portraying composers as slightly gay, and sometimes very gay, lipstick and these wigs and, British aristocracy, I was very familiar with that idea, a bunch of gay people in charge. The idea that took a while for me to truly accept, because it was so out of my realm of thought, was people bootlicking to a bunch of pedophiles. And one of the reasons I finally did accept it, in a fairly reasonable amount of time, was because I knew that there was rich people who have weird fetishes and they have weird desires and they like doing these things, and they get away with these things when they don't. I was very familiar with that idea, and I'm sure we all are. So, I thought I would share my experiences with, me waking up, if you will. In a way, I was never asleep. I remember being a child, and I've brought this story before. I stared at the ceiling, and I thought, yes, I live in this nice house in Saratoga by Los Gatos, one of the richest places in the country. But one day, I will have to work hard, and I will be grown, And I was very depressed. See, I always saw the other side. I always saw that the glass was half empty. I didn't just see it for it being half full. I appreciated both sides of the situation. And I started thinking about things, why do we go to school? Why is it, this particular way? Why is there a teacher in a classroom? Why is it the setting this way? Why is it everything set in a certain way, The array, the atmosphere, the circumstances of lower education, you know, pre-K through, you know, 8th, whatever you want to call it, you know. And so I was in grade school, and I was asking myself these questions while most people weren't. They were just kind of accepting it. You know, your parents tell you it, and you just go, and that's how things work. And you know, they were okay with that idea. I was always asking deeper questions. You know, I remember when one of my first girlfriends, actually was my first girlfriend, who's now the weather lady on Channel 4 or something like that. I don't know if she still is, but she used to tell my friends that I would have the deepest conversations that anyone had with her, as deep as they would get, and she wasn't quite comfortable with that. You know, my mom was always more deep than everyone else around me, and I come from a pretty deep family. You know, I remember my mom saying that one day I will start a new paradigm, and I didn't even know what paradigm was, but I kind of understood what she was getting at, that I was going to start a new way of thinking, and in a way that has happened. You know, and I remember other things that they would say to me, that even if they disagreed with me, that if I stood up for what I believed and I did some dramatic things for what I truly believed, that they would be proud of me. Something that they probably regret saying right about now. So, you know, moving on, I just thought I'd share these thoughts with you. You know, let me get to my notes. There's not many of them. There's a lot of videos, but a lot of them, you know, we're just elaborating on what I always talk about. So, gays need to redeem themselves by exposing secret societies as being full of gays. I brought this up before, and I think that it cannot be stressed enough. They cannot expect us not to be even more disgusted with them than we naturally are if they are part of the secret societies that oppress us all, in Hollywood, in IT, in mental health. I mean, there's so much evidence, you know, of this. CEO of Apple, some of the Google founders. If you look at the YouTube, when I had this picture of President Obama with, you know, the higher up YouTube staff, the senior programmers and consultants and all these people, almost all of them were blatantly gay. Blatantly. One look at them, you would know they were gay. It's this gay programming culture that a lot of people do not know about. Just Google it, you know, gay programs. You'll see clubs and cultures and websites and what have you. So, you know, they really, if it's your people doing it, you really have to expose it, or else your people are scum. Let's face it. Okay? If you're quite a, no, obviously, if within the Jewish community, they'd have to be complete idiots not to know that there's a conspiracy going on. The same thing within the white elitist community, within the homosexual community. You know, that's like saying black people have gangs, but black people are completely oblivious to this fact. You know? So, when you're talking about secret societies and secret plots, it's up to you to do something about this. You know? Obviously, you know, it's up to everyone else too, but first and foremost, it's up to you. If not, you have to understand that you're going to be seen as Satanists. These are the Satanists who covered up for their satanic secret society gay buddies, you know, and they were complicit, and they didn't lift a finger to stop them. And moving on, the homosexual epidemic from white people, the feminist movement, which is connected with weed because of the sticky part of weed, the THC being equivalent to a wet pussy, and you'll see a lot of female goddess imagery. You'll see a lot of Eastern culture as part of the weed movement. A lot of cultures which do not stress male spiritual supremacy, which is a key idea of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. Talk about their patriarchs, talk about male prophets and God being masculine. And you'll see that a lot of these people who do weed, they're Satanists, they're into witchcraft, they're into the occult, and these type of things. And there's a somewhat of a history of weed. Part of its history is Eastern culture, you know. I think the earliest record of weed was cannabis seeds being consumed in China, and what have you. Okay, of course, you know, some of the strains come from the Middle East, and you know, you should just look into what I just said and you'll find I'm running out of time. So whoever does not ride for me when I'm gone is a coward, and he's not down for the cause. Whether that is going to war, making videos about why I was right, and and how society shunned me, and how females are traitors. 3 out of 4 women are raped, and 1 out of 4 is attractive, if that. I'll let you do the math. This is in America. Moving on, 60,000 victims of sex trafficking in America. Jimmy Carter said during a period of time 130 million baby girls were killed or strangled. And feminists are pretty much quiet about that. They want to cry about Islam, but they don't want to cry about these cultures that are feminist friendly and that strangle little baby girls to death. So women tend to be racist against black people. It goes back to TLC song, No Scrubs. Who are the scrubs? Who are people who are 13% of America and less than 1% of the capital? To say no scrubs is like saying no black people. And of course, you're going to say, well, some black people are rich. There's always an exception to the rule, but it doesn't change the general rule. Generally, black people have dark skin. There are black people with light skin. Does that change the general rule? What happened? Okay, now going on. Well, when I say dark skin, I mean darker than white people. You get what I'm saying. So, women sold out to Babylon's system and do not appreciate a transcendent hero. I think that's self-explanatory. Bootlickers will make excuses about needing help to help people from inside. So there's a lot of these secret society people who say, well, you know, we got to accept this secret society exists. We got to help our people from the inside. You know, and I'm sure that, you know, you people have sacrificed so much. You know, all the perks of being in a secret society. You know, oh, it's touching. You know, thank you for, you know, giving yourself an easy life in order to help us all out, you know. We're so grateful for that. And we appreciate your great sacrifice. Okay, anyway. Bruce Lee would have lost eventually if he did what I did, which is the top martial artist challenge. The road to hell is paved with beautiful women. The road to Morgan hell is filled with Babylonian whores. That reminds me of something else I said earlier today, where I said America is the land of the fags, the home of the bootlickers. Now, I'll leave it up to you to figure that out. I'm running out of time. I can't explain all these things. I'm just going to finish off and wrap it up now. Power corrupts. Pussy power corrupts absolutely. Now, I was eating chips earlier today. I know this is a little bit unreal. I thought I'd throw this one in there. It made me smile. I said I threw away like 2 bags of old stale chips, which were about 1/4 full. And I said... stale chips are to not stale chips what dead pussy is to living pussy. And I'll leave it up to you to figure out what I mean by that. I will give you this one hint though. I'm not referring to eating it. I'm just referring to enjoying it. Okay. Gays, Freemasons, man playing woman role in act. Okay. So in acting historically, look at Greek plays. Historically, you're in Europe, all over France, Greece especially, you had men playing women's roles. And so the New World Order is like one big play, and there's gay people, you know, and they'll call on the male members of secret societies to play a female role in a very sexual way when they see fit. They're the director, and whatever they want their membership to do, that's what they'll do, married or not, whether they want to do it or not, what have you. Let me just wrap this up now. So I talk about my ear infection and how that was common among TIs and how this relates to what the military has reported themselves as frequency attacks. And we're talking about a military-industrial complex, the New World Order, how everything is integrated or interconnected. Okay, moving on. History of Germany and Hitler's knowledge of Freemasonic plans. Oh, I wanted to explore this, but I've explored this in other videos. Germany was a decadent society, a bunch of pedophiles, homosexuals, people pimping themselves. Inflation was horrible. You had to go to the market with a wheelbarrow full of money to buy anything. And he knew what the Masons were planning, and pretty much everything he did, from killing gypsies, political dissidents, Jews, homosexuals, what have you, was to stop the Masonic plan of multiculturalism and everything else that they were planning to do. Population control. He was trying to make stronger people. I almost had time. So The amount of women who are not gold diggers who are single, attractive, my age, and not brainwashed is few and far between. I'm out of time. Thank you.